Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here I have generated one of the unique ID for our ID number, and here we successfully did that work, right? And that is our and else, and that is our and method. So now we have to insert all that our data, right? So if we want to insert this data, our first work is we have to insert our this ID, right? So in our first of all I want to complete our user, then I will shift to our another field table. So for the user table, there is also some of the fields. So there have also some of the field which will be inserted in our user table. First of all, I want to complete this part. Okay. So into the user table, first of all, I want to complete that our user ID number, which I have already created one of the unique ID. So after that unique ID, also you have to insert it, right? So now I take one of the variable as I name it as a final. Okay, final underscore ID number, and then this ID will be our check year. First of all, that will be as a check year, right? So that will be first of all as a check year, and with this check year that will be our ID number. So now I simply add this ID number. Okay, perfect. And then our rest of this field we have to add it. So after that I want to add first of all I want to add all the data in our user table, right? So for the reasons here I want to use that our user, and with this user I want to add one of the object as a new, and then our user table, right? So here I have simply created one of the object. Okay, and after that object, as I told you, we have to also create one of the random code, right? So here also I want to add that random code, which I have already discussed about that things with you in our user table, right? Into the user I have already did that work. So I also want to do the same as a code, and then that will be the same as a rand. That means the random code it should be generated. So it should be as a 0000. That means the 40 and then the 49. So now I simply add it. Okay, and then this ID here we have to pass it. That means with this user we have to actually pass every data. So now with this user now we have to add that our database field. So our database field as this one, right? That is our ID number. So now I simply pass this ID number, and our this ID number will be what? Our this ID number will be our this ID. So here I have already I take the things with this variable, and that will be our this one, right friend? I hope it's very much clear to you. So now I want to add this our ID number. So this will be our password, right? So into the password field we have to also insert that Bitrip password, right? So which I have already discussed about that things with you. So now with this user I want to access our password field, and then our password will be as a Bitrip password. So into the Bitrip password, our password, whatever the things, it should be generated into the ID number for this student. So this ID number I take it with this code. So now it should be simply pass this code on here. That means this code will be inserted in our password field with the Bitrip, right? Perfect. And then also I want to do by default I add the password, I add that ID, and that is our user type. Our user type will be obviously as a student. Okay, right? So here I have already put one of the condition, because of all when it should be as a student, then actually it should be generated that password for our user ID, right? That means the ID number. Perfect. So now I want to add our user. So with this user I want to access our user table field as a user type, right? So user type field, and our user type field will be obviously as a student. Okay, obviously it will be as a student. So I have also put that as a student. So better I want to make it as a capital letter. So into the capital letter it will be check. Okay, make sure you updated it. If you use that as a small letter, you have to use it as a small letter, because with this actually it will be get that data. You can see also here we have to update it, this one, that is a student. That is one of the string data. So now it will be inserted directly as a student. Okay, perfect. So now we have to also add this our code that I didn't insert this data. So after that with this user I want to insert our another field, and that means this field data, and that will be visible in our this code, right? So that will be the code I copied. So with this code it will be inserted our code, right? So that means our this random code it will be inserted. Perfect. And then with this user, our field in our form, into the form area, there is a name, father name, mother name, mobile number, address, gender, religion, date of birth. So that is all that field, right? That's all that field data will be inserted in our user table, and discount will be inserted into our discount table, right? Here it should be inserted, and also here we have to insert our free category, right? Also here it should be inserted this data, and there's our class ID. Perfect. So first of all, I'm going to insert all the data in our user. Into the user, first of all, there is actually our database field name as a name, and then our requested, that is our requested field name. Our requested field name, if you go to our add, into that our first field, so now our name will be needed. You can see there is a student name, I name it field as a name, right? So that will be our name. Perfect. And then also better I copy it, I paste some of the fields, so here there is a cloud field, so that is a name, and after that name I also want to add our another one as a father name, mother name. So that is our father name database field name as a f name. I copy it, and then after that name, that will be as a with this user, and to use that our database field name and our requested field name also as a same f name, right? So now that will be f name, and then the mother name, that means the m name. So I name it as a m name, and our requested field name as a m name. So I make it as a m name. Okay. And also after that our form, then the mobile number, address, and the gender. So mobile number, that is actually the mobile, right? So that will be as a mobile, and then our requested field name, also as a mobile, that will be as a mobile, right? And then our another one will be as a address, and the gender I copy it, that will be as a address. And then also in our requested field, I have always used the same name. You can see there is our address field as address, so that will be as address. And then the gender, that is a gender, I copy that gender, that will be as a gender. Our requested field name, I have already add that as a gender, so right now it will be obviously as a gender. And then our gender, and then religion, date of birth, right? So there is a two of this field will be inserted in our user table. So into the user table, there is our religion and the date of birth. So that is our religion, I copy it, that will be in our gender. After that I name it as a religion, and then our requested name is also as a religion, right? So that will be as a religion. And there is also another one, but I copied, that will be as our date of birth, right? So date of birth, and date of birth actually the date format. So here also we have to update it. So there is a date of birth, and date of birth will be our here I cut it. We have to actually make it as a formatted as a date format, and with the date format it will be as a year, and then month, and that will be as a month. And then there is a D, that means the date. Okay. And after that we have to make it as a short start to time. Okay, start to time. Into the start to time, here we have to pass that our requested field name. So I pass that our requested field name is for the date as a DOB, right? So that will be as a DOB. Perfect. I hope it's very much clear to you, friend. And after that also into the if you go to that form, that is images will be also inserted in our database user table, right? Into the user table there is also another field as images. So in profile, I have already discussed about that things with you, friends. So if you go to our profile, into the profile user, that means the manage profile, if you go to your profile, here I have already updated this same portion. If you click as edit profile, yeah, you can see from here I already inserted this data in our user table. So right now that will be the actually same format. So if you want to apply it, then we have to go to but I have already done this work. So now I can actually able to copy it, right? So that is our controller into the profile controller. Here I have you can see that is actually the same things. Okay, so now I want to do and actually copy it. So there is a if condition, I simply copy it. There is a cliff and on here, so better I copy total things from to this position, and now go here after this. Okay, after this short time I want to add our another field, so that will be for our images. Okay, that will be for our images. Yes, and here there is our field name is also the same, right? If you go, I also use the same name. Maybe there is a profile image, you can see there is a file, there is a name as image. Perfect. So with this image right now we don't need this, I close it. I don't have any unlinked data, so that will be the file as a requested file, and requested file as the image, and then file name it should be added the date format, and then our file it should be get that client original name, and then file move public into the upload folder. Right now I want to use it another folder as a student. Okay, that will be the student images. So this type of one of the folder here I want to save all that our student related image, and I better I copy it into the upload folder. I want to create it, go to our project, which I have already discussed about that things with you. Into the upload folder here you can see I have created as a user images, and now I create another one that will be as a student images, right? Student images related every file and image file will be saved on here. So for the reasons here I simply updated it, and then data and data image. So our field name also database field name, user table field name as an image. So here you don't need to change anything, right friends? I have already discussed about every part with you. Perfect. So that's all for our form data, right? So that is actually for all about this form data. Perfect. So now I want to save this data. That means this user, all the data I want to save. So with this user I want to save this data. Perfect. So that's all for our one table. As I told you, here we have to insert that multiple table into the multiple table. We have to insert this data. So right now I successfully complete maybe one. So that is for our user, right? And now in our next video I want to continue this process. In our next video I will insert our assigned student table. Here I want to insert all that data. Okay, so how can do that work? But I want to continue this process. In our next video I will show you that things with the live example. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.